Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today I'm going to get back to working on this project on my taper attachment on my Monarch Model K lathe. If you guys have been following along a while back, I tried to repair this bracket that holds the taper attachment in place. It's a clamp that clamps down to the bed, and it had been damaged in the past, been repaired in the past. The repair broke. We repaired the repair, and it broke again. And based on what I can tell here, it looks like that when it was originally broken before I ever got the machine, there was a hairline crack in there. And when we came in here and did our second repair, once we put a little pressure on it, that crack just expanded out and it busted the whole back of this thing out. So game plan, we're gonna make a new clamp. Now, normally, I would probably do this by making a new casting, have a new casting made, make a pattern. This was all originally cast iron. It's a very nice looking part. It's been cored out in the bottom where it's not quite as heavy. But honestly, I need this part. We need it quickly. So instead of going to all that trouble, we're gonna actually just machine it out of a solid piece of steel. I've got a piece of steel here that we ordered that is gonna be able to do it. It's a big, heavy piece of metal. I think that hiding inside of this bar of steel is a clamp. We just got to find it and get it out. And that's going to be today's project, is to get that out of here. So without further ado, let's kind of get in here and get started on this and start doing what we need to do to make this part. So let's start here by kind of taking this apart. There's the clamp that holds the bottom on. I'm going to take that off because we're going to reuse that part. My piece of steel here is basically 3 by 3.5. My part here is basically 3 inches wide, and it kind of curves around, but when you look at everything, it's about 3.5. So we got basically, this is going to kind of get carved out of it, something like that. It's a little bit longer than what we need. So I think what we'll start by doing is cutting this off to length. Just kind of see where we need to be here. Yeah, 9.5 inches. So I'm gonna go to my saw. I'm just gonna cut this little block off the end, and then we'll come in here and start figuring out where we need to go from there. Over at the Marvel bandsaw here, and we will get this clamped in and get that cut off. I've got my block cut to length, and I think what I'm going to do is I've kind of traced onto this the profile of the original casting, at least in this direction. And I've got a lot of material down here on the bottom that needs to be removed. I think what I'm going to do is go to my do-all bandsaw, my contour saw, and I'm just going to cut most of this out and over there, and then I can go to the milling machine and start dressing this up. So this is all going to be milled surfaces. This is just going to be kind of a freehand down through here. I'm only going to do the bottom part right now because I want to have plenty of good surface to kind of lay this in the vise and be able to grip it. We will eventually whack that off as well, but I'm going to wait until I get the bottom kind of milled out like I want it first. So let me go to the bandsaw and start doing some sawing here. Well, a slight change in plans. I'm going to try to get some of these straight cuts anyway here over on the Marvel saw. This saw just cuts so much faster and easier than the do-all that I'm going to try to get some of it done here. So I'm just leaving plenty of extra room there to mill stuff out. I'm just going to cut down to here, stop. We'll probably go ahead and cut that corner out, and then we'll make this long straight cut to somewhere along in here. And then I'll probably finish the rest out over on the contour saw. continue on down here. I'll stop somewhere along in there and we'll finish that out over on the other bandsaw. But we got a fairly straight cut going for a while. All right, I'm going to stop about right here, and we'll finish that out over on the other bandsaw. All right, I'm over on the do-all saw now. This is a contour saw, more of a freehand saw. The biggest downside to this saw is that my blade that I've got in here currently is a much finer tooth blade. It just cuts a lot slower. I could get a different blade for it, I just haven't. But you can just kind of follow that cut around. That is where we ended up at. And again, I think for just getting some material roughed out of there, that's going to be good. Now I want to do is start working on this area down here. This is the area that's going to clamp down to the bed. I need to go get some good dimensions. We're going to go set this up in the milling machine, and we will mill that little bit of material out as needed to finish this up. I got my part mounted up over here in the milling machine. We're going to do this over on the Kearney Trekker 2D milling machine, just a little bit heavier duty milling machine than my other one, so I'm going to use this one. You can kind of see what we're going after here. That's kind of what's left of the original. This is what we got to start with over here. I do have a sketch here with dimensions and everything in it to work off of. I'm going to start by just cleaning up the back edge of this piece down here, and then we'll kind of start working our way in there like we need to. You know what, I'm going to probably have to lift that up a little bit more. Let me see if I got enough room here. Yeah, I need to get another shim up underneath there. Let me get that up done, and we'll be right back. And I got that raised up a little bit higher. I think that's going to work fine. So kind of get everything going here. I'm going to start by raising my table up to get a nice clean cut all the way up and down. And you feed the work in until we just touch off. I just want to clean that edge up. We don't need to make a big cut on it. Let's just go all the way down there and see what that looks like. It doesn't look like it's going to be quite enough on this first pass. And that is nice and cleaned up, so I think we are ready to go here. Let's see what I want to do next. I think I'm going to start by getting this end down here to the right height. So let me lower my table down. There's a little lip on the end. It needs to be 1.2, 1 inch, 200 thousandths. And we're starting at about 1.5 thousandths. So we got about 300 thousandths to take off of the height here. And I'm just gonna feed in. the table up until it touches off. I want to get a measurement on that. We'll just call that 1 inch 480. I'm going to put that in my digital readout. 1.480. And I'm going to 1.2 on that. I've got my top more or less to the right thickness. I'm just kind of milling it back here. I'm taking about 1/4 inch per pass right now. About to make my, well, this will get us up almost to the back there. So let me get that dialed in. I set 6, 7, 8, about right there. Let me come on down through there. We're just hogging it out of there. Looks like we're starting to kind of come up in contact higher up now. I think we are cutting all the way up. Just barely. Got a little burr there on that leading edge. Let me kind of get that knocked out of there. All right, that's better. All right, we're at 1 inch 825 thousandths. We're going to 875, 1.875, so I got 50 thousandths I need to cut off of there. And I'm gonna zero out my digital readout right here. And while I'm at it, I need to go 100 thousandths deeper. So I'm gonna go ahead and raise my table up as well, 100 thousandths. I'm gonna feed in about, we'll do 25. Try that and see what happens. All right, here we go. Like that. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do the bottom first. I'm gonna go back out to 0 on the x-axis and just get that bottom cut in there, and then we'll come back in and work on that face on the back side. Now I'll feed in my 25 thousandths. Now we're cutting off the back wall. All right, one more pass. .875, right where we want to be. All right, so now this slot in here needs to come out to 1 1/4 inches. Actually, just a tad bit over than that, because that's the width of that little piece that it fits on. So, see, we should be we're about 800 thousandths. I'm going to do 100 thousandths come out. I can do more, but I want to get a good measurement in there. When I talk about climb milling, I'm actually not climb. This is conventional milling, what I'm doing right now. I'm trying to avoid climb milling, which would be cutting in the other direction, where your cutter's climbing up on the cut. If you got a real tight machine, a climb mill actually makes a nice finish pass. But if you got any backlash in your machine, that climb cut can spell for disaster. It will pull the backlash out and crash your cutter. This machine is probably tight enough to do it, but I typically don't like making heavy cuts when I'm climb milling. I'm climb milling right now, and I'm just basically just going right back over that. All right, I'm gonna stop here. We're gonna get a good measurement on that width. All right, I'm measuring, got 884. I'm shooting for 1.250. Take it to 1 inch. Cut back down that. All right, if my machine is right, we should be right on the number right now. I will note that in reality, I need to probably be a couple of thousandths over just to have room for everything to fit. But I want to see where we're at here. I'm reading right dead nuts on 1.250. I'm just going to give it about, I'm just going to do about 3 thousandths, and we'll make one more little pass down through there. Just a real light pass. Back across. Yep, about 2.5 thou over. That should give me clearance. Let's see what we got right here. 625. That's exactly what I wanted there. All right, now get an idea on how deep this is. I'm not straight up and down, but that'll give me a idea. I'm about 1.540, and that needs to be 1.05, so I got about a 1/2 inch I need to notch out in there. So now I got a little step up here. This is where the clamps down. There's a shelf in here. This is 1 inch 50 thousandths from the top of this surface to the top of this surface. So I need to basically notch out an area in there. Nah, that line's just kind of a guideline. It's not an exact measurement. I'll get measurements here. Let me just go ahead and do this. You kind of see what I'm doing. I'm gonna get that notched out, and we'll be back in a little bit. I think I have my milling done over here. So we've got the step down the bottom. This is gonna clamp on top of the flat way on the back. We got the lip back here. This will catch on the inside of it. That'll keep it from rocking. This will fit up against the back edge of the ledge. And then this is just some clearance room for the clamp that will clamp down on the bottom. We'll have to drill a hole and put a pin in here. We'll do that in a later step. But I think we got, like I said, the milling done, and you can kind of see what broke out down here, what we had kind of put in there, tried to repair this. But I think we are to the point where I want to take this out now and go test fit this on the lathe to make sure that's going to fit in the slot like it should, and we can continue on from there. So all the stuff that we milled out down here basically fits over this little flat back here, hooks over it, and this should slide on here. And it is a tight fit, but it does slide. That's what we want. Not really any to side play. Again, that's what we want. It's going to hold and clamp this bar back here eventually, but that's a fit. So we're ready to move on. Over at the Wells Index Mill now, and I need to go ahead and get my hole drilled through here for the clamp, and there's also a little index pin down here. I've already got this centered up and where it needs to go, and we're going to drill, what is it, a 17/32 inch hole, which will give clearance for a 1/2 inch bolt that will go down through there. Start with just a center drill, just to give me a little nipple to get started on. And I'm going to drill a pilot hole here first. This is, I don't even remember which size bit I got, but just a smaller hole to get it drilled through. Slow that down a good bit. And here we go with our final size. So I need to put a 3/16 inch dowel pin in here. I've got a drill bit that's just one size below 3/16 and a reamer that's a 1/2 thousandth smaller, so we can do a press fit in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and I've just got to mark where it needs to be. We'll go ahead and drill the hole. Put my reamer in here. And slow the reamer down a good bit. And I'm going to put a little anchor lube on there to give it a little lubrication. And we will ream that to size. That should do it. Gonna lightly deburr that hole for the dowel pin, and I have a dowel pin here, and we'll just tap that in place. There we go. All right, I believe that's ready for the clamp. Go ahead and deburr the bottom of that hole before we take it out. Deburr the top. And let's try it out. My clamp will go in here, sit up on there. That fits right over that dowel pin. That just keeps that from spinning. And boom. And that tightens up on the top. And that clamps the clamp on the bottom. And you can see, like I said, that pin over there will keep it from spinning, kind of keep it properly oriented. All right. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off for right now. So I think the next thing I want to do is get a hole drilled through here that will become the center of this rod back here, and the kind of position where it needs to be. I've kind of got this all lined up back here with the notches, and I'm taking a transfer punch. This just is whatever size kind of fits down in that little slot, and make sure I've got everything kind of lined up where it needs to be. I'm going to take a center punch now and just a hammer and just punch this in place. And now I need to drill a hole through here, and that's going to establish kind of that area there. And I need to figure out what size hole that needs to be. Let me go get do some measurements, and we'll get that drilled out. I'm over at the radial drill. I'm going to drill a hole through here. It's going to end up being 7/8, so I think I'm just going to drill it to 3/4. And we'll saw it out and then mill it out the rest of the way. So start by just drilling a 1/2 inch hole down through here. We'll slow that feed rate down just a little bit. And we'll lower our head down. That chip looks better. I went from 20 thousandths per revolutions to 11 thousandths per revolutions on the feed rate. We're running at 505 RPMs on a 1/2 inch drill. And we are through. I'm going to go grab a 3/4 inch drill and we'll drill it out the rest of the way. So I didn't show it, but I went over to the bandsaw and I just cut that out, opened it up. And now what I've got is a 7/8 inch ball end mill. This is a rounded bottom end mill. And we're just going to go back and forth and open that up to a 7/8 inch slot that's round all the way down there into the bottom. So let's fire up the mill. Next step here is I want to kind of put this radius, this little arc on the back, and I just want to get as much of that material off there as I can. I've come over again to the marble saw. This isn't really a straight cut that I can put in the vise, but I can just clamp it down to the table, and I've just kind of eyeballed roughly where I need to cut. We're going to let that cut across there, get the bulk of that metal off, and probably just do the rest on the belt sander and profile it down. All right, I have been doing some sanding here and got my profile looking a lot better. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I got some scratch marks in here. I may try to polish that out a little bit more so it doesn't have quite that in there. That's the finest sanding belt I got, but you know, it is what it is, and this is going to work just fine. So this is where I'm at, and there's the original. This is this one. Now this one obviously narrows down in the front. Guys, I'm just not going to do it. I could get over there on the bandsaw and cut stuff out, but really I'm to the point where I've kind of lost a flat surface to put down on the bandsaw to kind of work off of, and I'm afraid I'm just going to make things a mess, and I really need parallel sides in here. This is a little bit wider and heavier than the original, but this is going to work. So let's go put it on the lathe and try it out and see how it works, see how it does. It's going to drop down right in there. Here's our clamp. Here. Clamp comes up from the bottom. Tighten that up. Get some spanner wrenches and tighten that up. So pin spanner catches that. tightened up, and boom. Well, voila, there we are. One finished taper attachment bracket. Again, there's the original. The new one, maybe not quite as aesthetically pleasing as the old one, but functionally, it's going to work. And that's the main thing I'm after right now is function over form in this case. Yeah, this will get the job done. So I had to quit in the middle of a job the other day when this thing broke, and I've still got the machine set up to do that job. So I'm going to get back on this and get my tapers turned. But there we go. Sometimes you just got to stop and fix your stuff. And this was the case where we had to stop and make a new part to fix a broken one. But hopefully we're back in business. Well, there we go, job done. Hopefully, like I said, we can get back to this job and get this thing finished up. But yeah, wasn't expecting that. But seldom do I expect the problems that I run into. They just kind of make themselves known, and you just have to stop and take time to fix them, and that's exactly what we did here. Guys, with that, that's going to be a wrap. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up, those comments, they really help out a lot. Please do that if you can. Big, huge thank you to those who support the site financially through Patreon, PayPal, and YouTube memberships. All those are great ways to kind of go above and beyond and help me to enable me to take the time to take the extra effort and stuff to make the videos and bring them to you guys so you can enjoy and follow along what goes along out here in my messy shop. And with that, we're going to sign off. We'll catch you on the next video again. As always, thanks for watching.